is the Liberal Party of Canada and Trudeau. Why are they so determined to phase out the energy sector in Canada, and more specifically in Alberta? Canada has the third highest oil reserves in the world at 169 billion barrels of proven reserves. But Canada is not one of the top producers of oil in the world. We only produce 1% of our proven reserves per year and contribute only 5% of the global production of oil per year. Saudi Arabia has the second highest oil reserves in the world at 266 billion barrels of proven reserves. They produce 2% of the proven oil reserves per year and contribute 12% of the global oil market. The US has the ninth highest oil reserves in the world at only 50 billion barrels of proven reserves, yet they are producing 13% of those proven reserves per year and contribute to 18% of the world's oil production. And despite having the highest oil reserves in the world, Venezuela used to contribute more than 10% to the world market of crude oil. It used to be number 3 in the world for oil production, but because of the socialist authoritarian regime, Venezuela is now 18th in the world for oil production. Venezuela could be one of the richest countries in the world because it is so rich with resources, and it could be one of the top 10 countries in the world for oil production. But because of that authoritarian regime, it has made the entire country very poor. Alberta's unemployment rate used to be 4%. But now, because of Trudeau's policies and forcing Alberta to shut down its energy sector, unemployment is at 7%. That is, if you believe the statistics coming from Trudeau and the Liberal Party. I actually think that Alberta is sitting at 15 to 20% unemployment rate. Texas has increased its oil and nat gas production, decreased emissions, and it only has an unemployment rate of 3%. Trudeau and his Liberal Party has signed on with the UN Agenda 2030 to phase out coal production. Canada used to be number 10 in the world for coal production. We have slipped to number 13. We are number 7 to export coal, but we export a very little amount compared to Australia, as it exports 13 times that amount. And US exports are double what Canada is exporting for coal. Trudeau wants to phase out all coal production. Coal is used in many products, for example, aspirin, soaps, plastics, nylon, air and water purifying, kidney dialysis and other medical procedures, bikes, tennis rackets, silicones, lubricants, cosmetics, shampoos, reinforcement materials that are used in construction products, steel and cement. Alberta and BC produce 85% of our coal, and that is going to be wiped out by Trudeau. Now, the top 10 countries that produce coal did not sign on to the UN Agenda 2030 to phase out their coal production, namely China and India. And if I was Prime Minister, every child would be educated in school on the importance of the oil, natural gas, coal, and steel industry, and at how it affects their life, their future, their job prospects, and prosperity. With Trudeau increasing the amount of debt Canada has, with wasting money and giving it all away, Trudeau is making us very vulnerable for the UN and the countries that control the UN to step in and basically own Canada and control it. If I was Prime Minister, every person in Canada would understand how much they have been lied to. They would understand how clean this type of energy is and the amount of wealth and security it creates for their families, for their futures, and for the future of their children and grandchildren. Do you agree with me? Do you think that if Canada increased their oil and natural gas production to rival that of the United States, to double it to 10 million barrels per day, or let's say triple it to 15 million barrels per day of oil, and increased our coal production and exported it and refused any imports of OPEC oil, I think that our wealth in Canada would increase. I think that our GDP could potentially double to at least, instead of 1.7 trillion, to 3 to 4 trillion dollars. Why is Trudeau doing this? Why does he bankrupt Canada and phase out all energy sectors? Is he planning on handing Canada over to the United Nations or the countries that rule the United Nations? It makes me ask a lot of questions. Their first goal is to shut down oil and coal and the entire energy sector. Why? So that we lose our jobs, so that we're forced to move away or actually get entirely kicked out. And then they come in and buy up the land. And guess what? They restart up the oil and the coal. It is a way to make sure that countries go broke so that they can take over. Countries like Iran, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and Turkey give tons and tons of money to politicians and other wealthy people that have lots of control and power so that they are able to move their own citizens into Europe and North America. Yes, the goal is to buy up land and to take full control of oil and other valuable resources. We know that's true. So I say, Mr. Trudeau, exactly how much are you getting paid to destroy Canada?